Yeah, I mean, what is the, I mean, I've been,
I
You've
went
seen
with
it.
Mark.
yeah. Anybody,
So we're good not to go now?
I think we know what we're dealing with, that was the kind of the point. Did you specifically want to go, Mark, or?
We don't have to, I mean,
Yeah. I
The-
mean, I'm open, I don't,
Mark had a good idea when he and I went up there that we could use that space initially for jury containment until we can
Potentially.
get to higher ground. It's the same space, isn't it, Mark? Both
yeah, it's
places.
just, it's the same square footage space is what the jury assembly would be. However, the ceiling height is low. It renders that area not useful for offices or permanent courtroom type function. If we were to put a drop ceiling in, about the best we could achieve is about 7'6".
well, if we ever had Shaquille O'Neal on the jury, that would probably not work.
Did we lose all of our tables and chairs when the sheriff went to the LEC? Was them all his? You know,
We have some, but not as many as what we had before. We've tried to round them all up.
What's going in the jury room when we get it done now? It'd be chairs, I assume?
Jury assembly, if we build a jury assembly, it'd be modular seating.
Okay. I was just wondering if it would be portable to go to the fifth floor.
We certainly could go ahead and purchase whatever furnishings we would be using for jury assembly and move it up to the fifth floor.
We're in line here, aren't we, Mel? We're discussing
Yeah.
actually the use of the fifth floor.
Yeah.
I just want to
Oh,
make
yeah,
sure.
you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we certainly could do that. We really need, calling it the gym
Yeah,
is
that
probably
was,
not the best idea. It's
Well, we
really
conjured
not,
up-
it has that functionability, and that was the
I mean,
original.
you
thought.
realize though, in that facility with that seating height, I could slam dunk.
Yeah.
That might be my
Well,
only
but like
opportunity.
So could a first grader.
Yeah.
You know, there, in all reality, we could do like our awards deal precinct, or the precincts luncheon thing when you pass out the stuff, and I mean, it'd be a good area for that kind of thing. We could just rearrange it, you know, to.
That's more along what it's designed for. It's really a multi-purpose room. It can have gym equipment in it. We do
But
have some available.
I think that's what got us off.
Yeah,
But it would also, we could also do that entrance where the ramp's built into that, what will one day maybe be a break room.
That is a break room. That's
But it'll
part of
cover
the
that
project.
floor too, right?
No, that's VC or LVT tile in that area.
So that's not part
It's
of
not
that.
part of this proposal.
It's just that big.
It's just that big area.
Yeah.
Is to do that in carpet squares, to do it in-house, to take it out of the project in order to save a considerable amount of money. 'Cause the first floor estimate came back at 60,000
Wow.
plus.
Is that, you mean on the fourth floor? Or
The fifth floor.
The fifth floor other area?
The fifth floor that we're looking at, that carpet proposal that I had.
Oh,
The
that
first,
carpet.
the first proposal I had come back within
Okay.
the project is 60,000.
But is the rest of the, what will be storage, is the floor finished on there, the cement?
No, it's unfinished and we did not pour that back.
And
Nor do
we've
I
not done any
feel
floor?
we have to right now. We can still use that area for storage without pouring back.
But we finished none of the floor on the fourth either, right, with cement?
Not yet, no. No, that,
Is it in our job spec at all?
nothing on the fourth floor at this point, just the demolition. The only thing in this current job spec was the build back of that area 5.
Is this back on the
Yeah.
agenda, Nancy, for Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
Would we go in there where you get off the elevators and make that where you can't see the rest of the open area?
Yeah, there's already a door frame there that'll get a set of locking double doors that will lock that storage quote unquote area off, so no one would ever be back there unless they had a need to be. But that does open up that area. We can move a lot of what's stored in the second floor of Lindemann over to this building. So keep much better control over it.
I mean, what is it?
Old records and,
There's a lot of DA records, various and sundry.
I'll tell you right now, the lady that takes care of the Lindemann building, I don't know who that is, but she does a fine job at organization.
Yeah, the bottom floor for sure.
Yeah.
That's Rebecca Criswell.
Well, she does a fine job.
Yeah.
we're not gonna have
So-
problems with density of load up there, are we, Mark?
Have we
No.
load tested it?
I think we can stack 5 boxes high.
Okay.
I believe that's the rule.
Because in the Lindemann building, I mean, they've got just like the corner stacked full of those
Yeah.
record books. And
Yeah,
you
we don't
say-
wanna do
Yeah,
that.
we had it tested, you know.
But we've got a lot of floor space up there on 5.
Move it around.
But, I mean, what are records setting over there? Like, should they be? I
At the
mean,
Lindemann building?
yeah.
It's
I
our
mean-
record storage.
No,
It's
no.
our-
The second
not
floor.
there.
Up
The second
upstairs.
floor.
Oh.
There's a lot of, I believe, JP records, DA records.
I mean, are they to be retained?
Yes.
That's up to
Probate
each
records
department.
Also have to retain those deed records, and we're about to send more over.
But
they're
that's,
not-
that's first floor records.
Yeah, but probate records
Or
are also,
basement.
old probate records are way up, I don't go up there because it scares me.
Yeah,
But they're up there, because she'll get them for me.
but they're not very well organized. They're,
No, it's
or the
kind
ones I've
of,
seen aren't. I mean,
Kinda
I hate to go there
haphazard.
and try to find one. I
in,
guess it's,
in the second floor, or second floor.
they're just kind of stacked and. Do any of you remember what was right here before this field was
It was a
done?
big junk
This
pile,
was a
wasn't it?
big room.
It was
We were having
completely
storage.
full
The
of
furniture, wasn't
furniture and old computers and,
it? It was junk.
At one
Basically, yeah.
point, they had, you could come up here to an early vote, and like a little section cut it,
Yeah.
take care of that.
Yeah.
We would program machines back here as well.
the.
And that's the only thing that scares me about, if we're gonna start storing records up here also, then the person that takes care of organization over there is not necessarily over here, so I think it'd be better to keep them all together.
Well,
To
they're
keep
not.
them more organized.
They're not
Well-
organized.
Well, why
I mean,
wouldn't we,
it's
why
pretty neat
aren't
over
they
there.
organized in that? I mean,
Well, I
why
think-
wouldn't we shelf them and categorize them and?
You need shelves.
Well,
Yeah,
not, I don't think all the records that we're talking about are under her control. They're under other offices' control.
Now, yeah.
So we've literally got records stored all over the
Well,
place.
let me ask it this way. What is it that you're in charge of over there that are not on the first floor?
I believe there's probate records, and I think I don't know if the condemnation records and our there's old books that we don't take care of that we don't do anymore that DC does. There's just tons of it. But most of ours is on that first floor, well,
Yeah.
downstairs.
Basement,
The
yeah.
first
Oh,
floor.
the basement deal is very well
Yeah,
done.
basement
No
deal's
complaints
great.
about that, Yeah.
But whenever we send our books over, we send our shelves with them. So ours are on shelves. So everything else, I don't know who that belongs
Yeah.
to.
And if
Well,
there's,
Even if it's upstairs.
would old DA records be under district clerk?
No, they're
I think they're under the DA.
under the control of the DA's
Yeah.
office.
If there are, I mean, we have our own records and the stuff that gets filed,
Yeah.
depending on if it's a misdemeanor felony, that can be over, that's like a separate set of records.
And I haven't been over there in a while, but what I saw was that there's just books and boxes full of, I'm sure it's really old
Well,
stuff.
that's the stuff that's setting out in the open, but
Yeah.
there are several
Oh,
office
there are some
areas
rooms in there that have
that-
DA records. You're
that
right.
have
I
filing
remember
cabinets
now.
that are locked down,
Yeah.
that are under control of JP offices, DA offices. We
Well,
have,
there's an evidence room, isn't there?
It was several. that were locked?
I'm not sure what all, I've never been
At
over
one
there.
time,
I
there
know
was a
there's-
kitchen door in there that was evidence from a murder
Now, there's
trial.
20 years of public defender
But-
case stuff over there
Yeah.
too. at
So
least.
y'all would go over there, Mel, if you needed something and look through boxes
The
to
public
find?
defenders will at times, because that comes up quite frequently, because people will complain about their lawyer 10 years later, or whatever they do, and you gotta go back and find it all. So
Yeah.
I know they would do that. They'd go dig around and have to find things and you know.
I bet you that causes it to get really confusing over there. When people start digging
Yes,
around for it.
yeah, and I mean,
That's-
apparently, they're pretty good though, because Paula Robertson, she helps out, and like, I don't know if she knows, I don't know, I don't wanna name names, I have no idea who's responsible for all that, but they seem to find things. I've never been over there, I've heard about it, and I don't wanna see it, but it's up there.
It just seems to me it would be better suited, all of those things that are on the second floor at the Lindemann to come over here.
On the
in
fifth
On
floor.
the fifth floor, in a much more secure area where
You talking evidence and all that?
it's records, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I know
whatever.
there is, there was, I don't know if it still, there was a large evidence room that was locked up
Yeah.
that,
But a record storage is not just in the basement. She has some other.
Yeah, she has stuff on, I don't know who all has stuff on the second floor. It's haphazardly shoved in old office rooms and locked down, and so, and I don't know who has control of which particular offices. I don't think anyone actually knows.
If you ask me to send you a list of everything that's in there, and who owns it and what she's responsible for, she'll.
No, I'm sure.
Well,
she can.
is there, Annette, is there stuff over there that came out of your office that y'all no longer want? Like big old book bindings of, I had some out the
We have
precinct
to keep anything prior to 1950. We cannot dispose of anything.
prior to.
1950,
And there's a bunch in there prior to 1950.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
there's a bunch of big record books that are just stacked up.
Yeah, I had some, for whatever reason, out the precinct in containers, and I brought them back up here. I thought, I had no need for those. I don't know how they ended up there.
We're gonna mess around and find some classified documents if we can.
No, that's in garage.
Sure.
Call Mel immediately, Mel will get
Call
all
Mel.
our
I
guys.
just,
Garage next to the sports car.
Well, this sounds like a discussion we need to have then,
6,000 a month.
and it does relate to the fifth floor, because that's what we're talking about.
well, it relates to this, to all of our,
Yeah.
there's other places within the courthouse that we
One
have
time
stuff.
Like
we had
down-
stuff stuck everywhere.
Remember the old grand jury room, and there's a closet at the end of that hallway that's got JP records to the hilt in it?
There were some on the fourth floor, or the third floor, I guess it was. It was in the closets and stuff. I mean, we ran in. But wasn't there quite a few records moved out of the county clerk's office when we remodeled?
It was moved several times inside the courthouse.
Yeah,
It
I
went to room
recall.
290, I think, right there where we do the vaccinations.
Right.
They were in there. Then they went to the fourth floor, 2-1 room. Then we had to move to the other side where IT's at now, in the back. Then it was moved, and it was moved back in there, and now they're back.
I
There
just
are-
remember there being a
We
lot
can have it
more
moved.
stuff in there, but when they did the remodel, I remember moving a bunch of stuff out.
And-
that-
All those red marks on the wall that you see in the room tonight is because our books were against the wall.
Okay.
And there's no, the records retention person has no staff today.
I believe that's correct.
What do you mean?
She's by
She's by
herself.
herself.
Right.
So, I mean, to keep the fifth floor from looking like the Linderman building, unless we have somebody coordinating that effort, in about 5 years, it's gonna look just like the Linderman building, if everybody's doing their own deal.
I'm with Nikki, I would keep it in one building.
Well, there was a reason that they originally got it away from the courthouse in case there ever was a fire here and it all got destroyed. We're not destroying all the records for the county. You know, having them, the tornado hits or something, it's better to have different records, different places.
But Mel, would you use at public defenders if the lady had a help? Would y'all get her to coordinate? Or do y'all not want anybody touching that?
I don't know what, I mean, I don't know what their policy is on that. I never got into the weeds on it, so that would be something David Boss would have to really think about. I don't know what their view is on that, and I don't.
But
don't
you
know
think
what
the
Jim
DA
did.
might be the same way? They might not want somebody necessarily in the record or access, well, they've got access.
I know that
to it,
it's, there's, you get into some specific rules on what you can access as the DA, it's a little different, but this is something I'd have to address with John to know what his view on it. My understanding is they like it the way it is now is fine. I haven't heard complaints, I haven't heard anybody say, oh, we can't deal with the Linderman building, and everybody seems to be fine going over there on both, from what I've seen, I think the DA investigators have to go over there at times, and I think they do. Now, they may have a different view on that, I don't know, it's just never been brought up to me. And moving it, if I understand correctly, is moving something, because the 5th floor is not gonna house all of that stuff, we would just be taking some to the 5th floor. And I don't even know how much, I don't know what or how much or how we would prioritize that, but that's a whole nother discussion, so.
See, I think that's what we're trying to get away from, is having it strung out and
And having it over,
different locations.
to me, the nice part is you know where it is. Right now, most things we know where they are. You start, it's inevitable when you start moving boxes of things that you're gonna grab the wrong box and move it. Again, I don't know how well organized it is and are ready for that, but anyway,
It's kind of like having somebody working out of your toolbox. You can't ever find everything again.
Things come up missing.
Things come up missing, they do. Well, do we need to have a separate discussion on that? Figure
Well-
out who's in charge of what?
Yeah, I think that's an animal all in its own.
It really is.
yeah.
That get all the players in, because the JP records, I discovered, like when we had twice we flooded out at precinct 4, I've got records out there from 2 JPs ago, never been gone through, probably could be discarded. And we just put them in boxes and they remain in boxes, taking up vital space we don't have. I don't know why we hang on to them, and I don't know what the rule is or who could tell
Did you
us.
look at your retention schedule?
Yeah, you have to have a retention schedule that's been approved by the Texas State Library, and that is the entity that is in charge of dealing with that. Now, my understanding, I think the county clerks, I think you guys have a retention schedule. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know.
But you have the clerks.
Every office has one.
You're supposed not. Now, I don't know that every office has one, but I know we have
Supposed to
one.
have one.
And you can't. The way the rule works, though, Jeff, is if you don't have a retention schedule, you can't destroy anything. Is essentially how it works. If you have one, you can go by that schedule, but that has to be approved.
Could you request, Mel, what we've got on the record with the state as to what
I can-
offices?
And I know it's kind of goes department by department with some of it. I don't know how many county-wide there are. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I know the gist of that. But I can look into that. We can look into that.
See if there is, like Annette may have several retention schedules for not just the
Depends on
clerk,
the
but
type of
for
record.
the health side of the clerk's office or the
I think
voter
you have-
We
records.
follow whatever the state says we have to follow.
We have one, we
And that's-
just printed it off, put it in binders,
Yep.
and we go
And
through it every
whenever
once
they
in a while, make
update it.
sure we get rid of the old stuff.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to have because it lets you get rid of stuff. That's really the benefit of it, is let you move on, get rid of these old things that you need space for, because
That's the schedule I followed for commissioners'
Mhm.
forms, what I printed off.
But
from
if
the
you
state.
don't
yeah,
have somebody.
okay, so that would be, if that's
Yeah.
what we follow, and I know and again, I don't remember, Woody and I briefly discussed some of this. But my impression was we followed one, that we had one for the commissioner's court at least has one.
And Rebecca should have retention record
Does
schedules for.
she actually pull record that Annette wouldn't know about and get discarded, that it's reached its age?
You'd have to ask her.
I don't think so. I
And
think she has to notify.
have
us
you
first to
ever
let us
gone
know.
through, since you've been at the county clerk's, Annette, have you ever gone through record and
I
discarded
have.
old
I've gone
record?
through our exhibits. I've gone through some of our financial records, like bank statements that we have to retain for 5 years.
Okay.
But I have.
But even if you have a schedule, if you don't have somebody
Working.
ever so
Constantly
often
working
going
on
through
it.
and cleaning it up, it,
It's, and
Yeah,
collects,
it- I
and that's
mean,
where, that's the
I'm-
point where I was at, and there we are again, because I haven't had time.
I'm the
to
worst
look at it.
packer out there is. I mean, I
The
don't
more
know, keep
stuff
that
you
on my
keep,
knee.
the more can be
Mhm.
audited.
Paperless is
You
better.
need to get rid of stuff whenever it comes time.
Yeah.
What do y'all propose to proceed on?
But we already talking about retention stuff, we gotta kinda think
Well,
about how we wanna, if we
Yeah,
wanna.
is that something we wanna put
Well,
on the?
I'd let Mel see if we got some stuff out there and then schedule a meeting down the road that once
Yeah,
we've got
I can look
everything.
into, I can certainly look into what we've got. I've looked a little bit at it already, so I can do some more.
But there's no sense in just growing, everybody hair and scare them over there and try to at least get some. But I would figure most people want some segregation, I mean, they wouldn't want an open building that the DA's on this side and the public defender on this side and
I
wouldn't.
mean, it's kind of work, it's
Like that
work.
now?
I mean, it's kind of, I don't know that I've heard, nobody's ever told me, man, I hate it. I know that going over there's a little bit of work. I know that for a fact, going over there and getting things, that's always work.
I think we'd have to have input from
Yeah,
all the elected
everybody.
officials
Oh, yeah.
before we could,
I agree.
I don't
Yeah.
really know how it came up so big, but.
Now,
Yeah,
well,
exactly. It's not on here, so we kinda
utilization
move on,
of the
but-
fifth floor space.
It's, yeah,
It is, yeah, it's,
It would be a large undertaking,
Yeah.
because you'd have to get everybody together.
I'm with you.
yeah, it just, how it sets in Northern currently, it could be done much better, much more secure over here at this building. On the, not the basement stuff. The basement stuff's fine. It's what's up on the second
Yeah.
floor.
Well, and it's not like everybody's got plenty of free time to concentrate on going and sorting that stuff out. We're not looking for things to do
No, but
and
it could migrate to areas up here and we could start cleaning out all the other cubby holes that are found all over the courthouse that we have.
At one time, there used to be two people over there. One would
Yes.
deliver, and then the other one would kind of clean up and move stuff around and do whatever they had to do. So you might consider maybe doing a part-timer to do this project that y'all are thinking about doing until it's complete, or temporary, or anything to help her out there if you want to know what's really over there and who owns it.
Well,
So,
yeah, I think most of the stuff that's on the second floor are under control of different offices, the DA, public defender, et cetera. So that would be coordinated through their office. But one of the last times I was over there in one of their areas, they were asking for more space. And they're pretty much packed in the areas that they have, so.
Right now, Mel, it's my understanding that we pulled back from renting the Impact Center for jury selection. Is that correct?
last I heard, but I don't know where, I wasn't involved with that, and I think some of that went on before I even got in my position, but I don't know where we stand on that. My understanding was I had thought that we had kind of gotten away from doing that, or that we were no longer doing it.
I think, last time I visited with the judges, I think Judge McKnight was going to extend our use of impact through the summer, make sure that we were through with the elevator project before you brought them back over here.
It seems the only practical way to do it,
Yeah,
to get people in. I mean, you can't, it's just unreliable where we're at right now.
but we could certainly use that NPR area on 5 to do jury assembly in the interim, if we finish it out.
And what would we have to have, what's your estimate in furniture, Mark, or appropriate seating, interim seating, or whatever you want to call it? What would that cost add on top of flooring, you think, to get, to be able to seat
I
enough?
think what we're looking at on the 4th floor, if we do jury assemblies, like 470 chairs. So
Is it just chair by chair by chair, a row of chairs of some
Yeah,
sort?
I'd use gangable, stackable, connectable chairs, not anything fancy.
And what would, so shy of 500, what are those cost us $10-15 a piece? Or a lot more? I guess it's.
They're gonna be a lot more than that, yeah. If you're gonna get anything of any quality, you're looking at.
What do those white ones, fold up white ones cost? You know, like you do a catered, table and chairs.
50, 75 a piece, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. If you're doing gangable, stackable chairs, you're probably looking at 150 a piece, something like that.
Okay. She can't get out?
She's unmuted now.
Okay. Cheryl says she's got some money in the retention plan to help Mel if you want to. You could get some help to do that or whatever she can. We've got a records retention fund for that very purpose, so if you wanted to sic Jonathan or whoever on it to dig up all the info, we can utilize some of that money to help.
Well, I think it'd be interesting. First
She was
of all,
having trouble getting unmuted.
Yeah, just see what the retention, schedule.
Gathering up the schedule has been a challenge, just figuring out what everybody's doing is
Yeah.
been a little hard. It was a little hard when I started on that,
But-
so I need to do, I think it'd be a great idea to find out what departments are doing, if anything,
Yeah.
if they have
Everything.
schedules. Some of them
And-
may go, what's a schedule, you know, and that's
And the
you know.
easiest thing to do is nothing and throw away our junk mail, and outside of that, everything's getting stacked up over there without and unless you get some good help, it might be difficult, but.
I mean, even if you have the schedule, you've gotta have the manpower to go and implement that, which is
Yeah.
gonna take, which is kind of
She's
logistical,
unmuted.
but, yeah, so anyway, we'll go ahead and look at that.
Yeah. But now, help me understand, like in the public defenders and the district attorney's office, all new record generated is being scanned in, right? We don't have a record from last year that there's a physical
Not-
copy that didn't get scanned?
There's physical records. No, I don't think it's all getting scanned, or I think it is getting, most of it is, but I think there's a lot of things that aren't.
Okay.
That I'm not totally aware of how everybody did that. I always had paper things that were not scanned, just because you end up sending letters, you end up doing things, that some of that you get scanned. It's kind of all over the board, I think, on that. I don't know that there's a set way, and I think for the DA's office, I don't know that it's totally paperless. I wish it was, but it's not. And the problem lawyers have is there is no rule in Texas where lawyers can get rid of anything. If you represent an individual, you're on the hook to keep that record forever. You cannot get rid of it. It's very murky on our ethical rules about that, and the default position that most lawyers take is you just keep it forever, because somebody will accuse you of getting it, destroying something.
Right.
And so that's why the public defenders, from their point of view, they've got everything from everything they've ever done over there, and they're gonna continue to have everything. Now, like I said, I think David can speak to what they're doing currently with their modern, are they scanning stuff in, keeping it on computer files? I don't know.
But now, our system's designed such so that I understand, and I don't understand anything about it. I know that if you have a map the size of half of this wall, it's not going to be scanned in, and it's going to be something that's going to have to be retained. But if it's a record, a letter, or things that are of legal or letter size capability, does that not attach itself to the Odyssey file to permanently become part of the record?
Only if you're filing stuff. You don't file, you're not always filing like if you send a client letter out, you're not gonna file that.
And it doesn't, you're not supposed to go out to Odyssey and stick it in there.
My understanding is I thought Odyssey was sort of sandboxed to where you can you can keep things like that, I think you could. If my understanding is correct, I'm not sure if people are implementing that. I don't know how easy that is to implement.
Okay.
Our office, we don't keep anything. Anything comes in, we're gonna scan it into the case and we trash it. The only thing we have to keep by law are the original wills. And in our criminal case, if I could have our judgments e-filed, we wouldn't have any more criminal folders. But because they bring us actual paper, we have to then make a folder just to keep the judgment and everything that happens the day of court. Everything else, we're paperless,
I mean, it's,
even in real property. So it honestly does work if you work with it and you want to work with it and make it work, it will work.
okay.
You just got to take the time to do it.
Right.
So, and we have signature pads that we bought for the courts. They can do thumbprints, but they want the actual paper when they do a thumbprint. We have all the stuff to use it, they're just not using it. They need to use it.
Is there any way to compel?
A district judge to do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's how we're set up to do it.
And from
Why
what I
would we
understand, we're
not?
supposed to start something new that we're going that route, but when? We've had the system since August of 2019 and it's still not there.
And they're.
Or July 2019.
And Brendan can speak on this. We moved a meeting from Wednesday that they're implementing that process and that it enhances our ability. And we were supposed to meet Wednesday and had to change that.
And I think they're gonna use the task instead of e-file, I think is what they're reverting to.
Okay.
But we've had no problem with e-file. Like I said, our office is almost paperless,
Okay.
so it works if you make it work.
Well, so if we prepared for 20, we're talking an additional 25, say less than $50,000 by the time we got everything needed. If we could finish out that area, if we finished out that area on the 5th floor and put some, nothing would keep us marked to, how much did you say the flooring was for that break room?
For not the break room, the multi-purpose room.
Well, no, the break room, I mean, can we shut the doors on it completely where people couldn't see in there? On the break room area, or would they have to pass it and say,
No.
oh, that room's unfinished?
All right, I'm not following you.
If I got off the
Come
elevator,
into
we
Yeah.
can wall
the
it.
big room.
Yeah, we can wall it so that the only thing you see when you get off and go to the jury interim staging area is finished area, right?
Yeah.
Or would I get off the elevator and say, oh man, that's a big void over here?
No,
What's that
everything,
room gonna be?
everything up there, except for what we call the new side. If we put this floor down, the 15,000 floor, will be finished out. To
But-
some degree, yeah, there
But
won't
like
be
where the
anything.
ramp is into the employee break room?
Yeah.
Is there doors there that shut off?
There are doors, yeah. You can shut the break room off where general public won't be able to go in
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay, that
And
was
there are restroom facilities.
There's 2 sets of restroom
Yeah.
facilities, yeah.
And that would, everybody would have access to those, right?
Yes,
And they're gonna be finished out.
everything will be finished out, yeah. The only thing we're lacking finishing out is the floor that's on the agenda.
Well, I mean,
It won't be finished out to the degree you would normally finish an office out or anything.
no, but that's okay.
We're gonna paint the rough ceiling a dark color. It's not gonna be anything
Yeah.
fancy. The HVAC system's not gonna be anything fancy. There is a slight problem in the design because it's not designed to handle a load of 450 people. But since we're only bringing 450 people up there for short periods of time, I've asked the question, can we still handle it without redesigning the HVAC load? Because it was never designed for
Right.
that purpose, for
Right.
holding that many. But
And
I don't see it being a big problem.
Right.
But if we were keeping 450 people in there all day, it would likely become a problem in the
But,
summertime.
but if we didn't prepare, and be able to have an alternative come summer when we're through with the elevators, we can handle our own jury selection in-house. All we're gonna do is give our money away to Impact.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't, we
Yeah,
might as
but-
well spend it on ourselves to at least buy us time. It may be a waste before we get jury to the 4th floor and do it the way we wanna do it, but still, we could handle it in-house if we, put a little bit aside, I guess, to,
Yeah, we would go ahead and purchase the furnishings that we would have normally purchased for the 4th floor. Move them up to the 5th floor in the interim, and then when we're ready to do the 4th, we just move it down.
and that, but what you're talking about is a stackable.
A stackable,
scenario.
yeah, not a fancy chair, but a good quality stackable chair that's will last
So
us.
that if Tanya wanted to put up some tables and have an awards ceremony of some type.
Be perfectly,
we can
and that was the whole purpose for that room to begin with. To do things
Yeah,
like
we're
that.
paying $810 a day to use the Impact for jury.
Yeah.
I just got the bill for the 23rd, January 23rd.
Okay, that's good news, Cheryl. That's what we were contemplating here. If we went ahead and made an in-house area and prepared it for when our elevators are working, we could get out from under that expense.
Correct.
We're not gonna break even, because the purchase cost of the furniture, but it would still.
Well, we won't break even for a while.
For a while, yeah,
But-
correct.
But
We're still bringing everything back over to our building.
$800 worth of chairs, more chairs, or pay down your expense just simply because you don't have to give it away.
And that's what that's the intent of moving forward, is to build a jury assembly area, so,
And to me, it'd just be handier to have it here.
Here.
You know, where-
yeah.
How does that work? Does people get pulled into that room, they're all seated, then do they make an announcement that, these 20 people need to go to the courtroom and be talked to? Is that how?
Yes.
Okay,
Typically, that's how that works, yes.
okay.
Yeah, so the assembly of the 400 would only happen for a short period of time, and then they break it out into smaller groups.
Yeah, they break it out and then dismiss and then say, call this number every morning or whatever to see if you've been summoned this week.
That's why I don't believe the HVAC design will be problematic, but it would be if we kept people up there for extended periods of time in the summertime.
But typically, I mean, it's a day, right? I mean.
Yeah, it's gonna be early
It's a
in
few
Monday
hours.
morning
Yeah.
for a couple hours. And
And,
one of the things we talked is if it's jury day, we kick the system on, cool it way down the night before.
yeah,
But it's not enough tonnage to handle a full load of people for long periods of time.
And both elevator cars will go there, won't they?
Yes.
Under the new deal, that helps
Yeah.
too, move more people quicker. That when it goes now is a little sketchy. It's-
That's a good elevator. Don't talk bad about that elevator. We need it.
No,
Knock
I
on
was-
wood.
Yeah, it's certainly better than the alternative, she's
Yeah.
a rope. And, okay, so what else on this particular?
I'll get some prices on furniture and
Mel's gonna work on checking on some retention, maybe we could get a better understanding of
yeah,
what.
at least have an informed discussion of bringing it all of it.
And we don't necessarily have to do anything with that backside. It's just, it
Yeah.
can sit there empty, but
Right.
it just,
Good point.
it just makes a lot of sense to me that we're running out of space at Lindeman. What's up on the second floor is not in the best location in my mind. It would make some more sense to move it over here.
And one of the
that,
worst problems.
along with the other closets and stuff that we have stacked full of stuff.
Worst problems at Lindenman, it's not necessarily designed to do that particular function, so.
The basement is. Basement's
basement is,
great.
yeah.
Basement's fantastic.
It's
If,
great.
if all of our record stores look like the basement, we would be,
Really good shape.
and I think we could do something very similar up on the fifth floor here. But that's a different discussion for a different day.
Okay,
So on the, if we move that direction and do, now, I noticed, Nancy, you got a update from Cheryl's and / Mike on where we stand.
I believe Mike sent that to you.
And so Cheryl, I think that we need to, in the very near future, have a revisitation of that ARPA and see where we stand, because all said, all done, at what we currently have laid out, we're at $10 million.
That's right. Mhm.
And so we're gonna have to make a call at that point as to exactly where we stand, what we look like going forward.
yeah, because the clock's ticking on a bunch of that
Clock's
stuff.
ticking on that money for sure, as well as, you know, where permanent improvement is left and,
Mhm.
We have a,
Yeah, one of the biggest holdups is that we haven't actually finished anything, so I don't know which pot of ARPA money I can take stuff out of
right,
to supplement until we finish something, and then I can see how I can apply that, and that's kind of where we're at with that. We do have about a $2 million cushion in all the money that we budgeted out of ARPA because the Hatton Hammond Road project kind of fell apart with the city.
right. But
But I'm gonna tell you that I have you know, my best friend is the CFO at the city, and one of the things coming over is, you know, their city county health department building flooded
right,
a few weeks ago. And she did tell me, she said, you know, in a heads up, hey, the city is probably gonna come ask the county to help us out with this building. So something to have in the back of our minds for some of that ARPA money that fell apart with the Hatton Hammond Road project, so.
and
But we have a little bit of cushion there.
And of that, Cheryl, though, a couple of things that we're tossing around. Well, one is that the city manager of Electric came and spoke to us about their needs.
Right, right.
Which was $500,000, and then
Right.
DPS / TxDOT is wanting to partner out there on that way station. And Michael Beaver spoke to us at the MPO meeting last week about the state is apparently indicating that if ARPA dollars are spent on TxDOT styled projects, that they might pay for half of that project. So we were looking at potentially.
Well, they ought to with all of the $27 billion surplus they have.
Well, certainly, sure. And, but we're looking at a way station that has the probability to get close to $500,000 project, but
Well,
which is.
those three are gonna be almost 1.5, I mean, that's 1.5 of the 2 million that we,
That gets us
yeah.
closer.
So, yeah, money's getting tight there, so, cause I haven't seen anything on the Charlie Ferris thing that we allocated for, like, there hasn't been a contract, and I don't think we got the final price even on that statute.
Have y'all met on that, Mark? Are you in that group?
I wasn't originally.
I think that was, you know, spearheaded by Judge Goss.
Oh, okay.
There was also talk out of DC last week, once again, you hear all kinds of things that right now they're beginning to look at wanting to claw a bunch of that back in.
They are, if we're not
Yeah.
spending it, they're wanting to take it back,
That's
so,
just
but
more-
we have allocated it, and that's
Yeah.
why those are,
Yeah.
it's important that I file those reports timely, and I
Yeah.
do.
They've got that on their mind though, and we need to, that's just another reason to
Sure.
move forward and get it all,
Well,
We've
we've got the Owl Park project as well that
yeah.
we've We've approved a project number, but we haven't approved any
Right.
dollars to it yet.
Yeah,
But
well, I mean, we've spent quite a bit, but,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, we don't wanna be
we
sitting there
gotta
with it in
finish
our pocket
something.
when,
I can
they
move
knock on
ARPA
the door
money
because-
to it.
well, maybe we'll finish the current courthouse project by the end of spring. Fingers
That would
crossed.
be Great.
Yes, it would be. You don't know how great that would be.
Or at least parts of that project that we can complete off so that we can break out that, you
Yeah.
know, some of that. That would be helpful as well, but,
Yeah, I would just like to get a treasurer moved back into his office, so.
and I
you
see,
know what, I'm not gonna disagree with that one.
Just,
I see rails in the elevator shafts now, so that's good.
Good news.
That's good news.
I'm waiting on cold molding. It's supposed to be here next week on that, so hopefully by
Well,
the end of next
I
week.
talked to Matt at COI and his furniture is not even supposed to ship for another month, so.
Yeah, Matt just tried to call me here a minute ago. He may be calling me on that because I've been hounding him on it, so.
I did too, so, I mean, but we can always set it up something temporary, I mean, that's not
Well,
a
okay.
huge deal, but.
So,
I know we need some more space.
I've got 2 sawhorses and a piece of plywood and, so, yeah.
Well, we got plenty of dead
Folding chair.
furniture.
Yeah, folding chair.
well, Cheryl, now, when I look at your spreadsheet, like Mark was telling us, the proposed carpet in that, multipurpose room was 60 grand. That sheet contains that, and then so if we gave Mark that 60 grand to move forward with new selection of carpet that's cheaper plus furnishings, we'd still be, that wouldn't change any number for us or increase that number actually, would it?
No,
Well,
it shouldn't,
Okay,
no, because that's part of the contingency budget
that's
that's
part of
in
the
there.
contingency.
So we're, yes, we are saving money by taking the carpet outside, but we're actually adding that 15,000 additional expense.
yeah,
So, yeah, it's
okay.
tomatoes, but yeah, it's actually adding to the budget, but saving
Okay.
money by doing so.
Well, Cheryl, you see no reason that we couldn't go ahead and put the Electra project on the agenda for, moving forward with,
I don't see any reason, I mean,
Okay.
they've already gave their presentation.
okay,
It's really just up to you guys whether or not you wanna go ahead and allocate that, unused money that we'd already budgeted for this project.
Got the water.
right, the hydrant.
Yes.
Well, I think everything we can do to move that stuff forward is vitally important right now. Anything.
Well,
we can
yes,
do to-
and we do have to have it all allocated by 2024 and
Yeah.
spent by 2026, so the more notice they have to get started, if that's what y'all wanna do, the better it's gonna be for all parties involved.
So-
And we're just probably less than 2 weeks away from TxDOT and DPS giving us a formalized, request on that way station, so we'll kind of know what we're looking at there, and I think Michael will have some answers. I mean, it could be as low as $250,000, high as $500,000. If,
Okay.
and from all indications, Cheryl, that carries a county revenue stream with it. If we have identified Mitchell County as being, something that is similar to us, and that carries about 100,000, shy of 100,000 year revenue stream. So that money will come back home, and that project could pay itself out if we spent the whole thing ourselves in 5 years.
Right.
Well, that's been beneficial.
Okay, what else?
I think that'd be a smart move, guys, it's on Monday, you said, right? Or
Fifth floor?
fifth floor.
Okay, ready to go to bills?
Bills it is.
Bills.
Bills, which
Where
is
is
I have a quick question.
on the bottom.
What?
On this, on that $30,000.
Can't even reach that. I thought that
Is that for the air
Just
handler?
mark it over everything.
Because that says
No bills.
install,
Should I
30,000.
start making agendas and big?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I assume that's probably.
Is this 10?
And
Or is this
I remember us talking with Cheryl Noon.
That's 11.
I don't have the invoice here, but yeah, we approved it, the purchase and installation of the air handler. I think that's the whole cost.
Cheryl, this Mickey.
Yes.
On the bills on AP Cash Disbursements Journal, the $30,370 for Trinity for install air handler. Is that the air handler and the installation, or just the installation?
Let me check.
God, I hope it's both.
It's
Yeah.
both. I think it's both.
I remember.
We
that
approved
being
it.
in court.
Should be both, but
Okay, because it just says install, and I was like, man, that's a lot of money for just install.
What they are bills? I can't find the email.
Cheryl, are you looking for something, or are you? She's.
yeah, we're checking on
I'm
that.
sorry. I didn't want to bother you. I got a question when you get through with that.
Okay. Yes, it is both,
Okay,
install and the actual.
thank you.
Cheryl, that line on our precinct printouts on the bills, and it says equity and pooled cash. What is that exactly? That line?
interest.
Let me look at your report.
Okay, it's down toward the bottom. Shows a credit. I just wasn't familiar with exactly. I would assume that's liquidity to.
It should be liquidity, I just
Okay,
wanted to make sure
that's what
before
I assumed. In other words,
speak
that's-
out there.
It's kind of like what we pulled out of our savings account, got in our checking account to pay bills with.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I
that is
thought-
what that is.
Yeah. Okay, very good, thank you. I just wanted to make
Mhm.
sure I was looking at that right. Cheryl, do we have in Munich's, and I'm probably the furthest behind in Munich's as anybody, but I'm trying to work on it. Is there a function in there where we can go and look at, let's just say my precinct budget, that will tell me, there is a place in there I can go see my year-to-date? In other words.
Yes, absolutely. Yep,
Okay.
you can run your year-to-date anytime. We can even probably schedule it so it would run every morning and you can
Yeah.
check it.
Or
And
once,
then you can scroll
once a
down.
month, I just like to kind of see where I am as opposed to my budget, and as we move through the first quarter, second quarter, it helps me to.
Debbie can,
Yeah, and I realize that it's not gonna be an even deal, because, we spend heavily in probably second quarter when we get into our paving season and all, but it's just interesting to look at that and see where we are. We're gonna have to watch this thing close, guys. We're, for the money, that payroll shocked me this last time when I saw the number. Gonna be vital
Yeah.
that we keep an eye on that throughout the year.
yeah.
Okay, very good. I'm trying to get up to speed. I'm getting there. It's just taking a while.
Mr. Buchanan,
Yes.
this is Margaret. I wanted to let you know that I'm supposed to call Atlas back later next week. They're doing a reread. If they find that it was read incorrectly, they said within 15 business days, they would make a correction and send it to us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good.
You're welcome.
So I'm clear. Everybody, so I think they moved to Sam or Jimmy. I don't know who. Jack was talking to him
Yeah,
yesterday.
we're hauling gravel.
but you only have like 12. But you'll take care of that diesel while that
Yeah,
project's
the way
going?
we've always done it is we fill up at that precinct yard every day. I guess we come full, we leave full, is that the way? I
Well,
think it's what
yeah,
we've done.
well, I was looking, we were filling up those trucks. The gravel I hauled, we've been filling up, and I'll have to ask Debbie, but daily, we were filling up all the trucks and all charged to precinct 4. And I just assumed since was hauling for precinct 4, that's what
We
we
generally
did.
always started full and sent them to the next location full. I don't know if that's a good way to do it, but that's
Yeah.
the way we've done it in the past.
Okay,
So when they came to me, they were full. When they leave me to go to Mickey's, they'll be
Right.
full again.
Okay.
So that's been a pretty good way to do it.
well, that'll choke a horse,
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a lot of fuel.
mhm.
Maybe that's what happened to the horses.
Is our trailer
Choke.
in?
Do what?
Is our trailer in?
Yes, it's here. The trucks, they're adapting
Getting it ready.
on our truck
I didn't know if we were running it yet. or
and
not.
servicing it. It should be ready to run any time,
Good.
Barry.
We should be able to get, I've gotta go double check and see what the numbers are. It shouldn't take long to get our deal laid in.
No, I think he said 1,200 and I was 25,
Yeah.
so
You were 25 what?
100 ton,
Ton.
and Barry's 1,200 ton.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
We're,
Yeah, we've got a pretty good week, open week this next week. We should be able to get
Yeah.
a bunch of it done. All right, anything else on the bills?
We got plenty of them.
Wish there were less.
We do too.
Yeah, we do too.
and Tanya, you and Cheryl will give us the latest and greatest when we move back on to personnel.
Yes.
Okay.
What else do we have?
Nothing.
Anything else to come before this work session?
Nope.
If we moved in a good direction, so we're gonna call it at 11 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock and we're adjourned.
Gosh, I
Gotta
can't
go.
believe it's 11 o'clock.